Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Game Ball Podcast stream. I'm your host, Mark. We're back, news hour on this snowy Sunday evening. For those of you digging out tomorrow, hopefully you're listening to this podcast while doing that. It has been a game-filled week for me because I'm not sure if I talked about two games that I started last week. We'll talk about them again because I played one a little bit more this week. But yeah, hopefully you guys have been getting into the swing of things. Things are starting to come out. I know Neo 3 has been completed by Night Duck, and we got things coming. So yeah, let's get started. So I'll start with the two games that I can't remember if I talked about on Monday's show or the podcast last Sunday, but I started two new games, one of which I may not be able to play anymore as of March 4th. But I started Trials of Mana, that RPG from 1995. I like it so far. I feel we picked the right three people to go through because I like all of them so far. It is the two princesses, the one from the Snow Castle and the one from the Wind Castle. Forget their names right now off the top of my head because I haven't played it since like Tuesday. What's it called? The Sword Boy. So I like them all so far. So we're doing good. The game is what I needed in terms of RPG story wise. I was looking more for like a turn-based because I've been seeing a lot of Expedition 33 people playing catch-up and that one girl playing through Final Fantasy VIII. So I was looking turn-based, but yeah, I know I already played one on Saturday. We'll get to that in a second. And then, yeah, and we'll have one after that. So, but it's filling the itch right now. I am enjoying it. Due to something that's coming up in the news, I am officially downgrading my Game Pass. So I don't know if I'll still have Trials of Mana as of the 4th. I don't know if it's one of the games included in that, what I downgrade it to. But, yeah, hopefully it is. Or worst case, I buy it at some point to continue to play it. But it filled the itch that I need it for the time being. And, yeah. And another game that filled the itch for something that I'm probably going to be playing throughout the year. I don't know how long it actually is, but for our Steam Backlog Buster, I played Bastion on Friday. Enjoyed my time, about an hour or so. Haven't had the chance to get through it this weekend. I had a busy Saturday, and then today was kind of crazy with needing to do things around the house, watch the Olympic hockey. Cousin had a championship basketball game at 1. And then I came back here and had to do some minor work stuff because of the snow. So, yeah, haven't been able to play more of it, but it's definitely, and it's a game that's good, like, not in memory intensive enough that I can do it on my less powerful PC that's out on my TV. So it'll be good. So I'll be playing Sonic Racing and that out there. Because they're the only two games that I'm confident will run on that thing. The rest of them probably would run, but I don't want to take a chance on that. So, but yeah, Bastion's great. Obviously, I can see the beginnings of the Hades influence, or the influence on Hades, I should say, since Bastion did come first. And yeah, I'm enjoying the loop so far. We had some fun on here. I beat one of the challenges. Probably stressed Jonathan out a little bit, going through some of the fights. But I know how that is, watching someone play a game that you're pretty good at, as well. And then on the flip side, I did find out that at some point during PS Plus stuff, I downloaded Transistor, so I can move on to that once I'm done with Bastion, and I will now have officially played all of the Supergiant games. So that was a good find. When I went through my library, because I was getting my PS5 ready for the trip to Florida I have next week. Because I downloaded all the Jackbox, because my niece apparently is ecstatic about it, because that's all they play it all the time in college. So I made sure I had every single one, just so there's not one that I have to download down there or anything. So while going through that, I found out I had Transistor, so that was pretty good. But yeah, Bastion, definitely a game I'm going to pick up throughout the year, and just play. It has enough that you can play like 20, 30 minutes and then be done. Or at least that has the feel to it. I'm not sure if it gets longer later. The combat's great, story's great so far. I love the narrator. So looking forward to and giving you updates on that as I go further. And speaking of other things, I played a little more NHL 26, basically inspired by the Olympic hockey stuff. I picked up, for reasons we'll talk about in a second, I purchased, because it was on super sale, NHL 26. So I'm going to transition from 25 to 26. So I was finishing up my 25 season, where I basically figured out how to score on that level almost at will. Because my one guy has 130 goals, and I have a bunch of people over 50 goals on the team, and it's just, I figured out how to score in that game. So switching to 26, I think I said this when I first played the trial of 26. It feels a lot more like you have to make some hockey plays. I know that sounds weird to say, to score goals, and it's not just using cheap stuff. There are some cheap stuff still, but you have to create space. You can't just, like, the AI is not stupid enough to give you space as it was in 25 all the time. I like the new X Factor system in it is fine. I mean, there's sometimes when it's over, when it can be OP, if you're really good at it. Especially with the Deke system, if you get on breakaways. If you're really good at breakaways, you can sort of cheese it a bit. I'm not great on breakaways. I have like 2 or 3 moves that I'm confident in getting a shot off with. But yeah, I like everything else about it. The look, the feel, the speed. It is better than 25. It's not there yet where NHL games used to be, but it's getting there. And interested to see what 27 is like. So been playing through that. And then as for streaming, just wanted to update. The reason I did not play Trails on Saturday is I was playing Trials of Mana and NHL 26, and by the time I realized it was 10:30, and I was like, oh no. I missed the stream. I had a busy Saturday and just sat down and was like, all right, I'm going to play a couple hours of this stuff before streaming. And then didn't realize how late I was streaming. So, yeah, the time got away from me. So we'll pick it up in 2 weeks. We should be good with that. My apologies for anybody looking forward to that. But yeah, it wasn't wasn't anything like I was tired or sick or anything. It was literally like I was just playing. I was in a zone. I kind of zoned out, and it was late. So I apologize for that. Yeah, so I think we'll have a lot to report next week because we're going to play a bunch of Jackbox, so I'll have opinions about playing Jackbox with Gen Zers. And then we will... I am going to buy Resident Evil Requiem. We're going to play it down there and, a little bit. And I'll have a report on that as well. So, getting added to that, and probably won't get any more trials in before... so I decided to downgrade from Ultimate to Premium, like top tier to second tier. I don't know if Trials is included in the 200 plus games you get in Premium. We'll see. Fingers crossed. On the flip side, I was talking to Metal Militia, Tom, about this. I went and I did the price comparison for what I've been spending. With my new job, I got a promotion, so I'm making more money. So keeping it around the same is negligible at this point. So I looked, I was like, hey, so I'm coming down here because of the story we'll get to in the news. And then I looked over and I saw PS Plus, and I was like, if I go up to PS Plus Extra, which is the next level that lets you play PS4 and PS5 games, not day one or anything, but backlog stuff, it would be actually cheaper. It would be like $5 cheaper or something to do that, to have the second level of both instead of, what I was doing. And, so we're going to get some Spider-Man reports, some Miles Morales reports, as I get into some of the PS5 backlog stuff that I have not been able to play. So that as well. And then I used that $5 savings and grabbed the Switch $3 a month, just for the what's called NES, SNES, and Genesis stuff. Just because taking the Switch down to Florida, and it'll give me some options to have classic games on there if I want to play them. So. And it's only $3 for 1 month. I can cancel afterwards. So that's about all I've been playing. I'm excited for everything that's coming up here. And can't wait to dive into that Resident Evil. Part of me is excited. I like a lot of what I'm seeing. Part of me is worried because it looks a lot like... parts of it look a lot like 6, and 6 was god-awful. So... technically, the Leon parts were the best parts of 6, so maybe they'll be the best. They'll still be good here, but we'll see. But I'm excited. All right, let's move on to the news. Just want to make sure that I'm set up here and you don't go to my email. First up, and this is the reason why I dropped my Game Pass subscription. So, huge Xbox shakeup. Phil Spencer is retiring. Sarah Bond resigns. Microsoft AI boss becomes new Microsoft gaming CEO. Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty is being promoted to Chief Content Officer. Spencer will step down as Microsoft Gaming CEO as of Monday, February 23rd, the company announced on Friday. Spencer will be replaced by Asha Sharma, who joined Microsoft in 2024 as president of its core AI product, which she describes as the leading product portfolio for AI models, apps, agents, responsible AI, and developer tools for customers worldwide. Xbox president Sarah Bond, who some have assumed was being prepared to succeed Spencer at Microsoft CEO, has instead reportedly resigned from her role. Xbox Game Studios head Matt Booty will also be promoted to Chief Content Officer, working alongside Sharma. In an email to Microsoft staff, Spencer wrote, "Last fall, I shared with Satya, that I was thinking about stepping back and starting the next chapter of my life. From that moment, we aligned on approaching this transition with the intention of ensuring stability and strengthening the foundation we built. Xbox has always been more than a business. It's a vibrant community of players, creators, and teams who deeply care about what we build and how we build it. And it deserves a thoughtful, deliberate plan for the road ahead. Today marks an exciting new chapter for Microsoft Games as Sharma steps into the role as new CEO, and I want to be the first to welcome her to this incredible team. Working with her over the past several months has given me tremendous confidence. She brings genuine curiosity, clarity, and a deep commitment to understanding players, creators, and the decisions to shape our future. We know this is an important moment for our fans, partners, and team, and we're committed to getting it right. I will remain in an advisory role through the summer to support the smooth handoff. So essentially, I need to, just for the sake of youngest niece and oldest niece, and other people, I need to keep some kind of Xbox Live account thing to so that's why I still have a Game Pass. If there wasn't, the need to play online possibly with her, because Xbox is the system they have. They do not have PlayStation. And, that's really the only reason I still have it at this point. It's just leaning towards the AI. We'll get into her response about the AI slop, which is just dismissive wanking motion, basically. But I want to be fair and put it out there. And also, if you remember, Microsoft is part of the BDS boycott movement, and all this AI stuff is the stuff they're using over there in Palestine. And all of this is just, as Night Duck said in the chat, they were worried they weren't torching their business fast enough. So, what this is going to come down to, in my opinion, is that they're going to blame closing the Xbox division on the people that protested against, Palestine and stuff like that. They're going to go, oh, well, you guys left Game Pass and all this money, and we couldn't afford Xbox anymore, so now we're a software company. And it's just, instead of doing the right thing, they're going to use this to blame people. But, yeah, this AI stuff is insane. I guess this feels like what it was like to live through, like, the .com bubble in the late 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s, where you're like, at some point, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're not right, but that is exactly what they're going to say when they shutter Xbox as as something that's not just a publisher. That's what they're going to say, even though it's not anybody's fault. And they're good, and it's that exact thing. The Night Duck brings up in the chat, which is why it's not my thought. Is why Xbox is going to close. The AI stuff, yeah, sure, leaning all towards that and people not wanting it. It's the fact that the investors, are going to look at all the purchases of Blizzard, of Activision, all the other small studios, all the other studios they bought up in the last 4 or 5 years, and are going to look and go, where's our ROI? Where's our return on investment on this? Call of Duty flopped. Blizzard hasn't been able to put out a really good game in a while. Obsidian is doing well, but they're not selling a whole ton of copies. Where's our return on all this money that you promised would be coming through if we made these purchases? And they're just going to go, well, we're going to cut here to save money because this stuff isn't bringing in things. And we're getting to another one for another company where I think that occurred as well. But yeah, it's essentially, they're so committed to AI in the entire company that they're gonna ruin the gaming division because of that, and it's gonna be a shame. Sony, while not the best people in the world, are at least a little more understanding of the business than I believe Microsoft is right now. Microsoft only cares about one thing, which is AI. and they're trying to shove it down your throat in every aspect. Windows, work, like Office, anything. So, but be not afraid, people. The new CEO pledges not to flood future games with soulless AI slop. Oh, thank God. I'm glad she said that. In addition, this is recapping. Okay. Okay. Her background has naturally raised questions from some about the role generative AI will play in the future of Xbox games. However, speaking to Variety, the exec has claimed she has no tolerance for bad AI. Not no tolerance for AI, no tolerance for bad AI. Who decides what bad AI is? Who knows? AI has long been a part of gaming and will continue to be, Sharma said, noting that gaming needs new growth engines, but that great stories are created by humans. In a further statement published on Friday, the incoming CEO was even more explicit about her intentions, stating there would be no soulless AI slop in Xbox games. As monetization and AI evolve and influence this future, we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystems with soulless AI slop. She said, games are and always will be art crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology provided to us. She added, I want to return to the renegade spirit that built Xbox in the first place. It will require us to relentlessly question everything, revisit processes, protect that works, and be brave enough to change what does not. Schwarmer conceded that she's coming into Microsoft Gaming Division with a lot to learn and claimed that she's committed to being grounded in what the community is telling us. I'm coming into gaming as a platform builder, she said, adding that her goal is to earn the right to be trusted by the players and developers and show the fan base that consistency over time. So, obviously, she means made by AI. Yeah, exactly. This is just a, trying to talk down the townsfolk with the torches and pitchforks at the gate. I think I feel like we will never know if this truly will happen in terms of them not, everything's going to be put under a microscope of being AI slop or not. And they have to, and this is not me rooting for Xbox. I've never been a person in the console wars ever. But if they truly are looking to just, let's rebuild this thing that we've been trying to salvage since those guys tore it down and took away a lot of trust back in the Xbox One days with the if you can't be online, there's a system for you called the Xbox 360. If that's what she's talking about doing, then sure, it'll take a little bit. But I don't trust anybody that's been the head of AI or talks about AI in any way. I think I've talked in the past on here. I don't know if I've talked to it on just streams or on the News Hour, that the only thing AI is good for, and this is even a grain of salt, is being someone to be able to, yeah, we'll get to that in a second, Night Duck. AI is only good for, I think, transcribing. Like send it audio of a meeting and have it transcribe it. And even then, you have to listen back and edit because it will miss things because of accents and mumbling of words and stuff like that. But it can give you a good outline of the points made and all that. Like that kind of AI, I feel, is worth it and can work and can help and would actually be good for productivity because it doesn't get involved in the day today. It just gives you an outline of what, that meeting that could have been an email was all about, so that nobody is confused about what was said and all in there. And using it in other situations. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All this new stuff, especially the Gen AI stuff, is the stuff that's not good. Um, you know, it's just people promised them the moon, and all these companies fell for it. All these investors fell for it, and it's like, I wish I could have found the story of that guy that, or they were showing the Google AI or something created a game, and it was like 5 minutes or something, and it looked great, and all these investors are jumping on top of it because, oh, look what we can do, and it's like 5 minutes of shit. And it's just, it's infuriating how much, not smarter, how much more like understanding and common sense most of people involved in gaming have over the people actually involved in the checkbooks. And to the second point. Yeah. Yeah. And Night Duck puts it pretty well there. Gen AI is good at creating a large amount of low quality output, which is great for scamming and flooding the market to drown your competitors, but not for anything that benefits society. And even hurts society in terms of how much energy it uses and, I guess, water and stuff. It's just all around terrible. But getting to his point, yeah, she has no gaming experience or experience in the gaming world. And she's only been at Xbox for a short amount of time. Like, if this is somebody that's been in the company for a while and just got, like, shifted over to AI and then back, and maybe a little bit more of understanding. But, yeah, this is very much, this can go one of two ways. I don't think it's going to go the positive way, where this could revitalize Xbox because it strips out all the bad stuff pre-Phil Spencer and builds it with good stuff. I think it's going to be the thing where they just become a publishing company, and all their studios get sold off and all that because the investors aren't seeing their return on investment. So, all right. With even just as confusing of news, over on the other side, Sony is shutting down Bluepoint, developer of the Demon's Souls remake. A Sony spokesperson told Bloomberg that around 70 employees will lose their jobs and claimed that the decision was made following a recent business review. Bluepoint Games is an incredibly talented team, and their technical expertise has delivered exceptional experiences for the PlayStation community. We thank them for their passion, creativity, and craftsmanship. Bluepoint specialized in remakes and remasters of older games and had a long history working with Sony. Sony Interactive Entertainment acquired the Austin, Texas-based studio in 2021, following multiple collaborations, including the God of War Collection, Metal Gear Solid HD Collection, the Eco and Shadow of the Colossus Collection, Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection, Gravity Rush Remastered, and most recently the 2020 PS5 remake of Demon's Souls. However, it was revealed last year that Sony had canceled a live service game in development at Bluepoint. Fucking live service. As part of the platform holder's attempted push into the space, which was said to have been based on the God of War series. In a message posted to Resetera, PlayStation Studios boss Herman Holst said the decision to close Bluepoint was made due to an increasingly challenging industry environment. Rising development costs, slowed industry growth, and changing player behavior, and broader economic headwinds are making it harder to build games sustainably. To navigate this reality, we need to continue adapting and evolving. We've taken a closer look at our business to ensure that we're delivering today while still well positioned for the future. As a result, we will be closing Bluepoint Games in March. This decision was not made lightly. Bluepoint is an incredibly talented team, and their technical expertise has delivered exceptional experiences for the PlayStation community. I want to thank everyone at Bluepoint for their creative craftsmanship and commitment to quality. Where possible, we will work to find opportunities for some impacted employees within our global network of studios. While I know this news is hard to hear, I'm confident in the direction we're headed. Creativity, innovation, and building unforgettable experiences for players remain at the heart of PlayStation Studios. So essentially, what they did, they were a studio great at doing, remasters and, HD stuff and, taking older games and making them better, which they could have been a moneymaker, just leave them on that stuff. The things I've heard from other reports is that they had pitched a whole bunch of stuff, which I'm assuming would be things like a Bloodborne remaster or, a bunch of the other older properties coming from the PS2, PS3 area to make them, like they did with Demon's Souls here. And it got shot down because they moved them onto that stupid live service God of War game. This is just another casualty of the live service push for people that didn't understand what live service was about or how to work it. I saw someone point out that everybody's chasing Fortnite, but that everybody forgets that Fortnite started off as a failure. That it was really, I think what's it called? Like a tower defense game, if I remember correctly, when it first came out. And the other stuff was like a side thing in it. And what Fortnite is now, the side thing, became more popular after the first thing failed. And it's just people, like, we complain. I don't know how to fix it, but, it's just people looking at spreadsheets and everything that Holst says in here makes you go, then why didn't you just keep them? Like, there's got to be other studios that aren't putting out anything here. But, yeah, it's a shame. I just hope the people find their holding, and I can't wait for the next slot of Sony things to come out and just be terrible remakes because they fired the company that was really good at it. But, yeah. Hopefully the people at Blue Point find their footing somewhere. Next up. Sorry to be doing really frustrating and sad news to start off. There wasn't much other stuff. But, Steam Deck is out of stock in the US as Valve warns of intermittent memory and storage shortages. Users have been reporting at various times over the past couple weeks that U.S. Steam Store often shows all Steam Deck models as sold out, and that while they do sometimes become available for sale again, the sold out signs are showing far more frequently than usual. At time of this writing, all three models remain sold out on the Steam Store in the US, though they are in stock in the UK store for now. Valve has posted a notice on the Steam Store informing players that Steam Deck availability may continue to fluctuate due to ongoing issues with memory costs. Steam Deck OLED may be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and storage shortages, the company's statement reads. Steam Deck LCD 256 GB is no longer in production, and once sold out will no longer be available. Earlier this month, Valve confirmed that it has delayed announcing the price and release date of its Steam Machine and Steam Frame device due to the rapidly increasing price in PC components. The entire tech industry is bracing for what some publications are dubbing Ramageddon, as memory is becoming increasingly scarce and exponentially more expensive. Whereas the global chip shortage of 2020 to 2023 was mainly down to disruptions in the supply chain due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the current memory shortage is mainly attributed to AI data centers buying up huge quantities of it, resulting in DRAM prices reportedly rising by as much as 172% throughout 2025. Analysts and tech companies are both predicting that the situation could have drastic effects for the entire tech industry, with companies such as Apple and Tesla warning that production will be constrained in the future. Bloomberg reported this week that Sony is considering holding back the release of the PlayStation 6 to 2028 or 2029, given that the bottleneck of memory production could have a large impact on availability and cost of the new hardware. Earlier this month, Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa said there is still no plans to increase the price of Switch 2 due to the increasing cost of memory, but that could change if the situation isn't resolved. Yeah, so another point in the fuck AI side of things. Yeah, this is going to be a thing going forward. That's why I'm glad that I have things like the Mister, thank you to Night Duck, and even on a lesser scale, you know, having, all of the games that I could, if I want to play, I can game if no new systems come out, or it becomes astronomically too expensive, and it's just the industry eating on itself, and it's just I am not sure if the end of this bubble, whenever it comes, will end up being positive in terms of, all of a sudden everything's cheap and you can fully upgrade a computer for very cheap and all that because the bubble burst. They made all this stuff in production and AI is no more, and or it's one of the things where all this technology just goes away because the companies all invested in AI, now they're all broke, and then it just becomes some sort of, like they said, Ramageddon, like some sort of thing like that. Yeah, so hopefully I am the positive voice everywhere. I hope it works like the housing bubble, which we're in another one, by the way. Yeah, heads up. But not as bad. The thing that'll be different, just to tangent a little bit about that comment, is that there's no scam mortgages anymore. Like there are scam mortgages, but like all the subprime mortgages and all that stuff that caused 2008 aren't around. So meet the new bubble, same as the old bubble. Yeah. But I think unlike the housing crisis when the bubble burst, it's not going to lead to cheaper home prices. I mean, it's going to lead to cheaper home prices for the housing bubble, but I don't think the AI bubble bursting is going to lead to positive things for gaming. At least not right away. I think it's going to be catastrophic when it bursts. And then, it might take years to sort of get back on track. But, yeah, all this AI stuff is just companies wanting to do more with less. And AI makes it easy, even though every time they've tried to replace things with AI, they have to rehire humans to fix what the AI broke. But the investors don't seem to see that. All right, moving on to some better news. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green coming to Nintendo Switch next week, but not as part of Switch Online. The pair of remakes were originally released for the Game Boy Advance in 2004, 8 years after the original release of Pokemon Red and Green. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green will release on Nintendo Switch on February 27, 2026. The games will be available after the conclusion of the Pokemon Presents, on which we'll talk about, which will air on February 27th. The games won't be part of Nintendo's online Switch Online Classic collection and will instead be sold for $20 each. One reason for the game's lack of inclusion on NSO is that the Pokemon Company likely wouldn't allow for some of the Nintendo Switch Online's features, like save states or rewinding, to impact the game. This could potentially lead to a manipulation of Pokemon generation, and thus Pokemon Home. Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green won't feature online play, but they will support wirelessly battling via a modern version of the Wireless Club found in the originals. The re-releases will support Pokemon Home, meaning players can bring the Pokemon they've caught in Fire Red and Leaf Green across other Pokemon titles. Virtually every Pokemon that can be found in Fire Red and Leaf Green is easily accessible in other Pokemon titles. Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green originally supported Nintendo's e-reader. However, most of the game's e-reader features are present only in the Japanese version, kind of like Pocket Station stuff. It's currently unclear if regions will receive slightly different versions of the release or if they will be unified. Yeah, so you get all of this. It's another thing brought forward to the Nintendo Switch. Miyamoto. Where is my Wind Waker HD? Alright, and oddly enough, we are doing Pokemon for our podcast Prime game this month. So we're doing Pokemon Silver. So be sure to play that so that you can follow along with us when we talk about it on Podcast Prime. Next up, confirm about the Pokemon Direct on Friday, February 27th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. February 27th will mark the 30th anniversary of the Pokemon franchise. The Pokemon Company said in a statement, to celebrate the holiday, the Pokemon Company is inviting trainers around the world to tune into a Pokemon Presents video presentation on Pokemon Day for exciting updates and announcements across the Pokemon franchise. 9 a.m. on Friday, if you guys are interested. Next up, God of War Kratos actor says fans will hear about what we're doing this summer. Christopher Judge, who plays Kratos in the modern God of War titles, not the very charming T.C. Carson from the most recent State of Play, who plays the Greek Kratos, was talking to a streamer at Fan Expo in Vancouver, Canada, who asked the actor about the recently announced God of War Trilogy remake. It's not clear if Judge is aware that the conversation was being recorded. Judge confirmed that he won't be appearing in the Trilogy remake. We all knew that. Since the original Kratos actor T.C. Carson will be reprising the role, as announced in a recent State of Play live stream. According to Judge, the remake will feature a new fighting system. And then you'll be hearing about what we're doing probably in late summer, the Kratos actor added. While he did not clarify who this comment was in relation to, the context of the conversation has led many to assume Judge is referring to God of War developer Santa Monica Studios. During the same live stream, the developer... that's about it on that. So their statement after the live stream about the 20th anniversary and the 2D game said, "We ask for your patience. It will be a while before anything can be shared. When we come back, it'll be..." Oh, that's what T.C. Carson said. "We know that remaking the Greek saga has been a frequent request. The genuine passion interest from fans to see the original game's return is something we're very thankful for and can't wait to share more when the time comes." So, yeah. Always think you have a live mic. As a man that went through journalism school for 4 years and was on a newspaper for all 4 of those years, unless if someone says off the record or, you were told beforehand that it's not being recorded, just assume you're being recorded. Not that he said anything really terrible. I mean, we knew about the T.C. Carson stuff, and of course they might announce God of War stuff late in the summer. They'll probably have other stuff, if anything, in June. But yeah, it's just funny. Hey, you didn't know if he was being recorded. Always assume you're being recorded at all times. Am I being recorded? Next up, Ubisoft confirms layoffs at Toronto studio, but insists Splinter Cell remake is still coming. On Thursday, the publisher confirmed it is laying off around 40 employees, or around 8% of the workers at Toronto, which is one of its largest studios, previously responsible for Watch Dogs Legions and Far Cry 6. This decision was not taken lightly and does not in any way reflect the talent, dedication, or contributions of the individuals affected, a spokesperson told Mobile Syrup. "Our priority now is to support them through this transition with comprehensive severance packages and robust career placement assistance." In an internal email, Ubisoft claimed that Toronto would remain a key contributor to several Code V mandates and service teams, or Codev. In addition to developing Splinter Cell Remake, which was first announced in 2021, and recently reappointed a director. At the time of its announcement, Ubisoft said Splinter Cell was being rebuilt with the Snowdrop engine, which also powers The Division, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, and Star Wars Outlaws, to deliver a new generation visuals and gameplay, and the dynamic lighting and shadows the series is known for. So, yeah, again, layoffs. This one not as big. I mean, 8% still a big number, but it's not like shutting down the studio like Blue Point here. But Ubisoft's just a weird company. I can't tell you what this means for anything, or if it'll affect any of the things that have been announced. Speaking of that, the Ubisoft CEO breaks silence, says company has multiple Far Cry and Assassin's Creed games coming. The details were shared in a new Variety interview where CEO Yves Guillemot, who discussed the company recent restructuring, including its Tencent-backed subsidiary Vantage Studios, which will steward Assassin's Creed and Far Cry going forward. We have a solid pipeline underway across Vantage Studios, Guillemot said. Under the Assassin's Creed brand, and several titles are in development, spanning both single-player and multiplayer experiences, with the ambition to further grow the community that exceeded 30 million players last year. He added, on Far Cry, anticipation is high, and we currently have 2 very promising products in development. Last month, Ubisoft detailed a major reset at the company, which will see its creative teams radically restructured into autonomous creative houses. The publisher is also rolling out a cost-cutting initiative, which has so far resulted in the cancellation of 6 games, the postponement of 7 others, and 2 studio closures. Ubisoft has proposed the elimination of up to 200 jobs at its headquarters in Paris, France, or around 18% of its staff. Many have protested against the decision, with unions calling for Guillemot to step down. In response to the protests, the CEO said, "I fully understand the legitimate concerns of our teams in France and around the world." He added, "Ubisoft is going through a major phase of transformation affecting our organization, operations, and culture. Changes of this scale naturally raise questions and create tension, particularly when they impact people's routines, and I recognize that." So the rest of it is just talking about the layoffs and jobs. But, yeah. So essentially, again, this is all PR, sort of keeping the torches away. I have no doubt that they will make Assassin's Creed and Far Cry games. The only thing I ever worry about with Ubisoft is, can they create a new IP? And we'll see if this restructuring allows them to do that. But I don't think any of this really has an effect on anything here. But if you are, believe in Guillemot, then you have nothing to worry about. Next up, speaking of AI, I left this for the end because it goes back to something I want to talk about with sports games. So, EA Sports FC commentator lets EA use an AI version of his voice to record some lines, it is revealed. Guy Mowbray, I think it's Mowbray, has been one of the game's commentators since EA Sports FC 24, and he explained the process in a new interview with the BBC. Mowbray explains that the act of recording commentary for large sports games with consistently updated players means it's part of my weekly routine pretty much every week from November all the way through the start of July. The article notes that the most repetitive task Mowbray has to perform is not only reading the name of each of the game's 20,000 players, but doing so in different annotations to mark different situations, receiving a pass, taking a shot, scoring a goal, and so on. It is then revealed that EA does some of the work on Mowbray's here by using AI to replicate his voice, with his permission to record some of the names for him. AI has long been part of the development pipeline, from animation to gameplay systems, and continues to support our teams in making it better, more responsible football experience. EA said in a statement, but when it comes to commentary and content, it is always a collaboration with our talent and not a replacement. This attitude is reinforced elsewhere in the article, where Mowbray explains that some of the game's longer commentary lines can't be created by anyone other than him, because they have to sound like something he'd naturally say. Say there's a scenario where a team is crossing the halfway line, but we don't know if it'll develop into anything, he said. So I might say, a promising attack, what could they do from here? As a line of commentary to explain that, but we need 10 different ways of doing that, so I will have to think of another 9 ways of saying it. It can't be scripted for me because it's got to be in my style and how I would say it in real life. So I have to think of those lines myself. It's the same for Sue on co-coms, she will need 10 different ways of adding insight or color too. Co-commentator Sue Smith also explains in the article that because the recording process takes place over a number of months, it's sometimes difficult to ensure one recording session sounds like a previous one, something that is crucial to ensure the player thinks the commentary sounds natural rather than different lines recorded months apart and stitched together. So yeah, with the permission of the people, I believe this is one of the ways in gaming that AI can be useful. Because my complaint always, and it was one of my biggest complaints with NCAA, is that they just decided not to record names sometimes. Like, that was my biggest complaint with 25, was all the commentary, which is why I shut it off and started making it a podcast game, was all of it was, the pass, the receiver with the catch, and he scores, touchdown, like that, like, no name, no team, no anything, no personalization to it. Because they didn't want to record the 20,000 names or whatever, or didn't have time to or whatever. They got a little better in 26, but it's still like, the running back gets through the, instead of names. If AI can help with that, that would be great. But it shouldn't replace the talent. I think especially for a game like FC where players move around, new players get brought up, and, having an agreement to just use it for names is where I'm okay with it. Names, team names, things like that. But they still have to do the lines to make it sound natural. If something like NCAA or FC can use this so that every time a pass is made, someone's name is said, rather than the winger or the center back or, the wide receiver, the tight end, the safety, it just takes you out of the commentary because that's not how commentators talk. So I think this is a good AI thing, and a whole show talking about how terrible AI is. I think this can be good for sports games. All right, next up, on a slightly movie tangent, Weapons director had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted with the Resident Evil movie reboot, studio CEO says. Last year it was confirmed that Zach Kreger, the writer-director behind the critically acclaimed horror movie Barbarian and the recently released Weapons, would be writing and directing a new Resident Evil movie in which will reboot the film series. Now, in an interview with Deadline, Constantine, Jesus, I can't talk. Thank God this is the last two stories. CEO Oliver Bourbon says Kreger was given carte blanche with whatever he wanted to do with that IP. With Resident Evil, we have an incredible journey with one of the most successful international IPs of more than $1 billion in box office for many years, he explained. And now we're creating something new, not just a story idea, but to allow a new generation to take the IP into their own hands and form something different. Elsewhere in the interview, Bourbon says that the next Resident Evil movie, which is planned for cinema release on September 18th, is far away from everything that's connected to Resident Evil only because Zach Kreger has his own style. He said, we consider filmmakers as an IP. Jesus Christ. Besides existing video game, book, or comic IPs, the biggest creative power you can have is to have a if this says AAA director, AAA filmmaker, might be even worse. And a package that combines those filmmakers with great casts and great ideas. That's what we're aiming for. Making a movie. Kreger's previous horror films, Barbarian and Weapons, currently have Rotten Tomato scores of 92% and 93%, respectively, meaning Resident Evil and horror fans alike are excited about the prospect of seeing Kreger's take on the the Capcom series. So my main thoughts on this is there only needs to be, I might be shorting this a little bit, but I believe there only needs to be 3 things in a Resident Evil story. You need zombies, you need some kind of virus, and you need Umbrella. That's all you need. And you can, however you want to tell the stories outside of that, just, you need those 3 things. If you're going to call it Resident Evil, it needs to have at least 2 of those 3 things. You know, I think especially Umbrella. It needs to have Umbrella. Or else it's just a generic zombie movie. You know, it's not, you can't call it Resident Evil. Now, if you don't want to have Leon, Claire, Jill, Chris, Wesker, you know, all those people. If you don't want to have any of those people in it, fine. It can take place in another city, not even Raccoon City. Take place somewhere else. That was the one thing that those Mila Jovovich ones got out of the way, is that they started to include characters from the games. And that is what started making them not great. They were cool to see. And then we covered the other Resident Evil game, which was good as a live action like interpretation of that game. It's basically Resident Evil 2. That's fine. But if you're going to hire Zach Krager, who I have opinions about the end of Weapons, and I haven't seen Barbarian yet, but you let him do what he wants, but say there's 3 tent poles that need to be in there, or 1 tent pole. Umbrella needs to be there. Have at it with the rest of the story. I think it's the one thing you got to do, and it makes me a little more excited about it. Could I be vastly disappointed? Sure. But if he can tell a good story in, you know, sort of that universe without mentioning any of the other people, you know, it would be fantastic. It's a little more Fallout Season 1 than Fallout Season 2, if you know what I'm saying, in terms of storytelling. So, all right. And finally, Xbox has announced the rest of February's Game Pass title games, including Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That's the only reason I really pulled this. So, I'll just read through the list here. Aerial Knight Drop Shot is for Ultimate and PC. Avatar is for Ultimate PC. Avowed is now coming to Premium. Oh, good. I can keep my save then. Awesome. Death Howl, Ultimate Premium PC. College Football, Ultimate. Witcher 3, Ultimate and Premium. Oh, that's pretty cool. TC Card Shop Simulator, Ultimate Premium PC. Dice A Million, Ultimate PC. Towerborn, Ultimate Premium PC. Final Fantasy 3, Ultimate Premium PC. And Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Ultimate Premium PC. Also notes that Monster Train, Expeditions, a Mud Runner game, Injustice 2, and Middle-earth Shadow of War will all be leaving Game Pass on February 28th. So if you still have some form of Game Pass, you're going to get some decent games if you haven't played them from last year. I'm just glad that the Avowed is still on there, so maybe I don't have to purchase it, since I'll need to be purchasing sports games. But anyway, that will do it for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. Hopefully, I'm going to go see what the snow looks like. See how close to my window the snow is getting. We learned last time about 8 to 9 inches of snow comes to the bottom of my window. So if we get a foot, it might be actually covering my window, which will be interesting. So, and then I got to go clean my car off sometime during the afternoon tomorrow when it gets a little warmer and maybe melt some of it a little bit. I'm not getting up in the middle of the night to do this. So, and thankfully, since I have off, I can go out at like 4 o'clock and just do it and take my time with it. But yeah, so thank you all for joining me. Hopefully, if you have a snow day tomorrow and don't have to work from home like myself, you can enjoy it playing some video games. Catch up on some things that you haven't been able to play. So yeah, once again, thank you Night Duck, thank you Meta Militia, thank you Goat. I don't know if you're here or not. You had a big streak going. I hope you were here at some point. But I'm glad we made it through. No power outage. So hopefully power stays on for all of you as well. And we will see you next time. Bye!